Hello, paranormal tourists, and it might sound a bit weird today because I'm currently at a festival, a paranormal festival, if you will. Lots of weird things going on here. This is the Strange Days Festival, and I'm here playing with the band. You heard the theme tune, that's played by Frankenstein's Lobster. Well, we were playing here last night, and I've stuck around to listen to a whole bunch of talks. Now, I'm going to be talking about Strange Days Festival. It was brilliant. We've still got another 24 hours of it here. But I have just left the main stage where we had Brian Blessed talking about everything, basically, about Yetis and bizarre paranormal things that have happened to him over his entire life. Hopefully we're going to get a clip or two of that later in the show. Whether we can or not, I've just got to find out whether we're allowed to do that. But I'm pretty sure we're going to get Brian Blessed not talking about subjects he's been asked about. We've also had talks here from James Shakeshaft, who is hosting the whole event. And he, if you don't know him, he is half of the podcast The Lawmen with Alistair Beckett King, who you've probably seen on television. If you're a regular Radio 4 listener, that he's often on the news quiz as well, and calls himself, or has been described as the Ginger Jesus. He's long, gingery hair, and you may have seen him on Mock the Week and things like that. So they're going to be recording their podcast later on. I'm looking forward to hearing that one. Oh, we've got a lot to talk about. Now, this isn't the Cotswolds. I'm not in the Cotswolds right now. I'm in a place called Pewsey, in sight of a white horse. So I'm in Wiltshire, and I say a white horse, I mean a horse carved into the hillside in chalk. So we're near Avebury. Now, the reason I'm telling you about a place that's not in the Cotswolds is the Cotswolds kind of go all the way down to Bath. And so we're South Cotswolds and slightly across. So if you are in the lower half of the Cotswolds, this is only a 20-minute drive for you. I've come all the way from Cheltenham, and it took me about an hour and 10 minutes. So as a tourist from the Cotswolds, you can come to the Strange Days Festival. Not now, you can't, because we're on the last day tomorrow. But this show's going out in September 2025, so get online and get your tickets for 2026, and we'll hopefully be back here with the band and hopefully be recording a show from here as well. But more importantly, and the reason I'm going to put this episode out now, even though we're not in the Cotswolds, it's coming up to the end of crop circle season. So if you're a croppy and you want to go out there looking for some crop circles, I am in a field currently about 100 yards away from the Crop Circle Centre. All right, so if you look that one up online, there is a Crop Circle Centre which you can go and visit. It costs about $8.99, I think it was, to get in. I may be wrong on that. And group bookings, you can get it cheaper as well. So look that one up online and get yourself down there as quickly as you can, because they've got information about where all the crop circles are, all the latest ones and so on, as well as having a great exhibition about crop circles. Now, they'll be able to tell you where all the latest ones are, because this is the end of the season. And I don't mean they go away for sort of on holiday or anything like that. It literally means they're going to start digging up all these crops that are out. So there will be no crops for them to put circles in, whether it's aliens, devils, demons, whatever you wish, or just Doug and Dave wandering around with bits of wood strapped to their feet, flattening fields. So, if you want to get and see some crop circles, you've got about a week left, and this is the place to get down to, because this is the place where all the crop circles happen. And as I said, we're near Avebury. Now, if that rings a bell with you in any shape or form, Most Haunted did an episode in the pub The Red Lion, which is right in the middle of the Avebury Stone Circle. And Avebury is a very impressive stone circle, more impressive than Stonehenge, and more importantly, free. Now, that's the most important thing when we say about the paranormal tourist, is to get yourself to somewhere that is free. So we're going to be telling you all about that. But to get us into the stories of Avebury, I think we better have a song or two, don't you? As I said, I'm currently sat in a car recording this on a little voice recorder in view of a white horse. So let's have a song about a chalk white horse.
Time forgets, but you remain standing still in sun and rain. Chalk horse on the hillside, show me how and where to run. Chalk horse on the hillside, watching all that we have done. Your back holds stories still untold, legends carved in lines of old. The wind it hums a hymn of stone. Do you dream or stand alone? Time forgets why you are here, forever strong, forever near. Chalk horse on the hillside, show me how and where to run. Chalk horse on the hillside, watching all that we have done. Time forgets why you are here, forever strong, forever near. Chalk horse on the hillside, show me how and where to run. Chalk horse on the hillside, watching all that we have done.
Now, if you've listened to our previous shows, you'll know that the Paranormal Tourist is not just myself. It's also Tom and Danielle and a few other people that help out with ghost hunts. But more importantly, we started doing podcasts and things during lockdown, and we told people where they could head out to, in places you could go out to and enjoy and not have to pay to get in, but it was safe spaces that were outdoors. And Avebury in Wiltshire, which is just up the road from where this event has been, is a fantastic place to go. It's a huge site with lots of places to see, and it's free. So also, we wrote books as well as podcasts, and the Paranormal Tourist Guide to Book A features Avebury in it. So we're going to get a few friends to come in and read these bits, a bit of excerpts from the book. So I think we've got Tony, we've got Tom, and I think that's it. But let's hear from them rather than me talking all the way through this.
Now, how do we go about explaining Avebury? It is an ancient stone circle, possibly the biggest and the most impressive in the country. But it is also a village inside a stone circle. The Red Lion pub probably is one of the only pubs to ever be built inside a stone circle. To my foreign readers who wish to do something interesting, then head into the pub and drink cider.
If you are local, you may have a house that was built out of the local stones, some of which were once magical standing stones, as these houses are all thought to be haunted as well as lucky. They also apparently contain more than their fair share of poltergeist activity. The activity over the years has been so prevalent that it has acquired its own name, the Haunt. This haunt is not the old druid priest ghost that supposedly just wanders around the stones, spooking people out, but beware, I know some people who live around here and they could easily be mistaken for this description.
The druid is possibly the legend of a magic man or some form of shaman type of character from the year around about 1000 to 1100s, and some claim that this is the reason for the links to the area and the Arthurian tales of Merlin.
If you've approached by bus along the Swindon Road, then don't be too hasty to leave the bus shelter, as in recent years I've been sent stories of a silhouette spook standing at the stop. When witnesses have approached the bus stop, the silhouetted figure simply vanishes. On leaving the bus stop, let's go for an ecclesiastical, extrasensory experience, as we might witness a ghost at the churchyard.
A peculiarly large white humanoid figure has been seen in the churchyard, but also there are phantom monks, a female spook, and a young boy dressed in what resembles Victorian clothing. Normally, I tell people there is little evidence of ghosts in graveyards, and it might be because they're all hanging out in this one.
If you've spent so long in the graveyard that it's now midnight, then head to the outer ring of stones and find the diamond-shaped one near the road, as this stone apparently crosses the road at midnight. To be honest, this seems to be a story that is quite easy to not only investigate but also prove highly unlikely to happen.
You might, however, be entertained by some lovely music, because at night time, that is where the ghostly choir starts to sing, and choral singing has been heard at night time within the empty circle.
These are not the only noises to look out for, as outside the Red Lion and along the roads within the circle, the sound of horses drawing their carriages and also the actual apparitions of these spooks have been experienced.
One great story I've heard about this place is that there is an appearing and disappearing medieval country fair. This is often described as a time slip, where someone is walking along and their surroundings change to what looks like a scene from history. They often report sounds, sights and smells associated with the scene as though it is real and happening around them and not just an apparition. Then the scene will just vanish.
That will be enough to send anyone to a pub for a swift drink, so join the drunken druids and head into the Red Lion. Let us now investigate a spook by the name of Florrie. As far as we can tell, Florrie, or Florence, was the wife of an English Civil War veteran. She was sadly murdered when she was strangled and tossed down a nearby well by her husband once he discovered she had slept with other men whilst he was away fighting. She now haunts the pub, scratching anyone who upsets her. She possibly haunts this pub as well as the well, which is now inside the building. Whereas when she was murdered, this was outside of the pub's walls. When the well was investigated by divers 90 foot down, they found a huge boulder which stopped any more exploration. So it's possible that she's still down there below the level of this boulder.
Rooms above the pub have reports of hauntings, so not much use to us at this point, and there is a very haunted room that is always in the private room, which is constantly creating cold spots. So what is the name of our spook in the private room?
Well, which one? There is a lady called Beth who sits in the corner of the room writing a letter, and there are 2 children who've been seen cowering in the corner, and people complained. There was a sad feeling of oppression and fear in the atmosphere.
If you get to stay in the Avenue room, have a Ouija board and try and get the names of the 2 spirits who inhabit this spooky area, because there is a male and a female ghost here, yet no one knows who they are or what they're doing.
Florrie is not a fan of the follically fecund, as she has a dislike of people with beards and has been known to move chandeliers and throw a hunting horn from above the bar. Glass is thrown from behind the bar, lots of electrical problems and so on always happen, and there's so much more that happens here that's been blamed on this Florrie poltergeist.
The poltergeist may be the ghost of Florrie, but we're not sure, and in the restaurant area of the pub there is movement seen of the lights and the chandelier in the bay window area. So if the curtains are open, you might want to investigate from outside, or just casually sit there, sipping away at a drink and see if there's any movement at all. It might start moving the more you drink.
This movement may be possibly the result of a little boy who has been seen running around the bar and the restaurant area. People have also actually felt the effect of the child as he runs past, and they get a sensation of someone brushing past them.
There are rumours of human sacrifices going way back in history on the site of the Red Lion, but these are possibly just rumours and are somehow linked to underground tunnels and various other crimes, with very little in historic record to verify them, sadly.
Standing outside the pub, you may hopefully get to hear the sounds of the phantom coach which have been heard by bewildered tourists. The stones can possibly get annoyed with the tourists, as there are reports of angry stones, and some of them have an air of bad luck around them. And many people claim that accidents happen near certain stones. Sadly, I do not know which ones are claimed to be the lucky ones. So if you've had an accident that wasn't your fault and you need to call Psychic Claims Direct to see if you can get some otherworldly compensation.
Speaking of otherworldly, let us talk about visitors from outer space. Yes, UFOs are on our radar, so to speak, when it comes to the paranormal. And this area of England is rife with aerial spooks and sightings. But more importantly, it is the UK Centre for Crop Circles.
There are reports dating back hundreds of years of these circles, and there are even medieval woodcuts of the devil appearing and cutting them with a scythe. Also reports of balls of light appearing and circling around at high speed, then flying off, leaving a circle in its wake.
The floating ball thing could be an excellent clue, as then we're looking at something like ball lightning or earth lights that could be, in years to come, explaining what is happening via science, rather than an over-enthusiastic mowing devil with a lawnmower.
But with all the UFO sightings and crop circles, then we're bound to get to Men in Black tales. And there are a few, but my favourite Men in Black story is Men Not in Black. Near Avebury is an amazing place called Silbury Hill.
One story in July of 2009 tells us of an off-duty police officer who spotted what we thought were 3 forensic officers.
His description was that they were all tall with blonde hair wearing white overalls, walking around a newly formed crop circle. He went to investigate, but as he reached the edge of the field, he could hear and feel a strange crackling of electricity.
The officer tried to enter the field and approach him, at which point the men in white ran off quicker than, as he said, any human could run.
Whilst we're at Silbury Hill, let's actually explain what you're looking at. It is the largest man-made mound in Europe, and as we have mentioned in podcasts before, archaeologists will tell us that they think it is ceremonial, meaning they don't know what it is.
Or why it's there. One group has alleged that it was the only way the builders knew of immobilizing a great evil.
The ghost of King Sil is also said to ride around the base of the mound on moonlit nights,
which is likely to be connected to the belief that a horse and rider of solid gold are contained within the mound itself. We often hear about the headless ghosts on horseback, but there is also another headless ghost without a horse this time, supposedly haunting the base of the hill.
Now let us take a footpath from Avebury to Truslow Manor. At or near the gates, a ghostly woman in white has been seen. We often say the woman in white ghosts refer to wispy figures that have no colour, almost as though it is a fading ghost, eventually disappearing altogether. However, this one is in white, as it's wearing white lace and a white hood.
One witness in the middle of the last century claims that the spirit grabbed him by the shoulders and spun him round, then pushed him away before she disappeared.
They came from the hills, they came from the shore, rolling and shifting, drawn to something more. Through valleys deep, over rivers wide, the silent pilgrims marched down the hillside. Granite from the north, chalk from the downs, each one a stranger from faraway towns. Under the moonlight they share their grace. Standing together they found a place. Who called them here? What voices spoke? What dream was born when the first one woke? The stones of Avebury all gathered round, whispering secrets ancient and profound. A circle of giants, so wise, so old, each with a story that had to be told. Each giants, rolling and shifting to where they now sit, through village and town, by river and road. Where are the giants that shouldered the load? Long gone are the people, the story and tale. The image of past is now pale. The legends of ancients and stories of old, like the stones and rocks, are now cold. Who called them here? What voices spoke? What dream was born when the first one woke? The stones of Avebury all gathered around, whispering secrets ancient and profound. A circle of giants, so wise, so old, each with a story that had to be told. Each with a story that had to be told. Do they dream of the hands that set them here? Do they mourn for the ages lost and unclear? Do they hum with the wind in a song so deep? Or stand as the shepherds while we all sleep? Who called them here? What voices spoke? What dream was born when the first one woke? The stones of Avebury all gathered around, whispering secrets ancient and profound. A circle of giants, so wise, so old, each with a story that had to be told. Each with a story that had to be told.
That was a section from the A book of the Paranormal Tourists, and there are other books out there by us, but I can't use this show to blatantly plug my books. Instead, we need to get to Malmesbury, and here, amongst other stories, a story about a flying monk. And yes, of course, we have a song about this legend. I shall tell you no more until after it is played. If you've not heard of this tale, then this song will probably just confuse you.
A man can dream, head in the sky, a lifelong dream to learn to fly. This man of God looked up and prayed. He journeyed on, his fears were laid. A wooden frame, a dream so bold, wings of ash in a story told. The sky was calling, the wind sang loud. He climbed the tower above the crowd. Oh, flying monk with dreams so high, did you touch the clouds or kiss the sky? A leap of faith with arms so wide, you soared and fell but never died. A legend lives and never dies. The wind it whispered daring pleas to leave the earth, to claim the seas. And men of hope can't sit and wait. He leapt for glory, faced his fate. The crowd looked on, the people stared to watch him fly, the man who dared. Oh, flying monk with dreams so high, did you touch the clouds or kiss the sky? A leap of faith with arms so wide. You soared and fell, but never died. A legend lives and never dies. He may be brave, he may be bold, but down on earth his history told. The man survived to tell his tale, so did he win or did he fail? The crowd looked on, the people stared to watch him fly, the man who dared. Oh, flying monk with dreams so high, did you touch the clouds or kiss the sky? A leap of faith with arms so wide, you soared and fell but never died. A legend lives and never dies.
Oh, it was a song about a flying monk. Well, obviously, this is one of Malmesbury's most famous stories and is possibly the first documented cases of human flight. Tony will read us something from the Legend of Malmesbury's website to explain it better. This is an excerpt from the folklore section of the website www.oldbellhotel.co.uk. A lovely place to visit whilst you're in Malmesbury, and you can start your haunted pub ghost walk from this lovely establishment. Take it away, Tony.
Elmer of Malmesbury, nicknamed Elmer the Flying Monk, was the country's first recorded aviator, apparently inspired by the Greek myth of Daedalus and Icarus. Elmer allegedly glided some 200 meters from the top of Malmesbury Abbey before crash landing and breaking his legs. William of Malmesbury wrote about 100 years after the event in his epic Deeds of the English Kings. He was a man of good learning for those times, of mature age, and in his early youth has hazarded an attempt of singular temerity. He had by some contrivance fastened to his hands and feet in order that he might fly as Daedalus, and collecting the air on the summit of a tower, had flown for a distance of a furlong. But agitated by the violence of the wind and the current of the air, as well as the consciousness of his rash attempt, he fell and broke both his legs, and was lame ever after.
He used to relate as the cause of the failure that he had forgotten to provide himself with a tail. The date of the flight can be judged fairly accurately, as it is recorded that Elmer saw Halley's Comet in 989 and again in 1066. Now, assuming he had to be at least 6 to remember the comet, to make the flight in early youth suggest a date somewhere between 995 and 1010. So, next time you visit us, why not to drink a pint of locally produced ale from the Flying Monk Brewery whilst you're in the Old Bell Hotel. Well, there we have it, the tale of the first human flights that were technically successful. We could claim Icarus was the first flight of legend, but this monk survived to tell the tale. And modern physicists and plane designers have looked at this story and the flight paths and all the facts associated, have come up with the conclusion that it actually could have been possible, and there's no reason to doubt the veracity of its claims. Now, I'm going to go straight into another song here, and a legend of the tiger at the White Lion and the death of Hannah Twinoy, or Twinoy, I'm not entirely sure. Hannah Twinoy was possibly the first person in England to be killed by a tiger. John Marks Moffat explains in his History of Malmesbury, published 100 years later, that Hannah was a servant at the White Lion Inn. The White Lion Inn at the time housed wild beasts for exhibition, one of which was a tiger. Hannah was regularly told by its keeper not to tease the animal. However, she didn't heed his advice, and one day the tiger lunged at her, pulling its fixings from the wall, caught hold of her clothing and tore her to pieces. She's buried in the graveyard at Malmesbury Abbey, and her tombstone can be clearly seen with the following epitaph: "In memory of Hannah Twinoy, who died October the 23rd, 1703, aged 33 years. In bloom of life, she's snatched from hence. She had not room to make defence. For tiger fierce took life away, and here she lies in a bed of clay until the resurrection. There are legends and there are claims of ghostly sightings of these people, but they are few and far between. And whilst I find some more spooky and reliable tales of hauntings of Malmesbury, mostly in the Abbey, let's get the song The Ballad of Hannah and the Tiger.
The irony is not lost on me, and somehow there's a twisted joy. And for a while it may make you smile at the death of Hannah Twinoy. Poor young Hannah Twinoy. Oh, poor young Hannah Twinoy. There was an inn that did begin to showcase creatures, fish and birds. Now crowds draw near and hope to hear young Hannah Twinoy's final words. Poor young Hannah Twinoy. Oh, poor young Hannah Twinoy. A lion white is such a sight, but that was not the beast of death. Now we wait in vain to hear the pain of Hannah Twinoy's final breath. Poor young Hannah Twinoy. Oh, poor young Hannah Twinoy. That was the name, this sin of fame, where Hannah met her fate. The Lion of White beheld a sight, for Hannah Twinoy, it's too late. Poor young Hannah Twinoy. Oh, poor young Hannah Twinoy. A tiger sat where she was at. Each day she teased and tortured him. She was scorned and so be warned of Hannah Twinoy's vicious sin. Poor young Hannah Twinoy. Oh, poor young Hannah Twinoy. She was bold and she was told to leave the tiger well alone. She got too close, don't be morse, now Hannah Twinoy's blood and bone. Poor young Hannah Twinoy. Oh, poor young Hannah Twinoy.
Now, as we mentioned, we did get lots of information from the Old Bell Hotel's website, and more importantly, we need to head that way again, as the hotel is actually haunted, and you can get access to the building if you want to eat or drink there, or if you're being a proper tourist, you could actually stay the night. If it's a quiet day and they're not too busy, you can always ask to see the haunted spots or ask about the spooks and see if there's any new ones that have appeared, and if they do come back with some fantastic stories for you, please send them to me. Get in touch with the show as paranormaltourists@hotmail.com. But from the information I have been told, the most activity occurs in the east wing of the building. Now, this sits over the former Abbey churchyard, or should I say the haunted Abbey churchyard, and we'll come back to that in a bit. And it's suspected that a sarcophagus is still buried under the bar. And also down below the ground floor there's a passage that was found back in 1889. Now, inside that passage apparently there was an upright female skeleton, a couple of stone coffins and a pair of 16th century spurs in a box. I have no idea what people have been getting up to in this hotel, but sounds interesting. Now, the main ghost at the Old Bell is the Lady in Grey, and I love the way they always say the Lady in Grey, as though this one ghost goes around haunting everywhere, or the Lady in White, or the Lady in some dark red, whatever. It's obviously different ghosts, but they always say, like, we've got the Lady in Grey. Anyway, she's a sad-looking figure who's seen gliding through the library. It goes through walls, on the main staircase, and on the upstairs landing. Mainly, this all happens in the East Wing, and she's also been seen passing through a hedge. That's not in the East Wing, that's outside, obviously. Now, when this happens, no matter what the gardeners do, they cannot get it to grow, apparently. So if you find a spot where the hedge isn't growing particularly well, you'll know that's the bit. Right, in the room known as the library is a portrait of a lady who's thought to be this grey lady ghost, but no one knows who she actually is. And there are books written about Malmesbury, and some say she was a lady that was forced into an unhappy marriage and then hanged herself in the James Odie room. I don't know if that's the way to pronounce it, Odie or Odie. Anyway, there are books written about this, and in some of the books, some people say it's a different painting that's supposed to be the grey lady, so I'm not entirely sure on that one. In the room upstairs, known as this James Odie room, or number 15, a couple of guests staying there were totally unaware of the hotel's reputation, and they checked out halfway through the night, leaving without any explanation. Now, that could be any reason at all, I guess, but when you've got a room that happens a lot in, you always jump to the spooky conclusion. And the staff there say that this room has a particularly scary atmosphere, as well as a scary atmosphere across the whole of the top floor. It's particularly creepy and scary in the middle of the night with an oppressive atmosphere. Now, in this James Odie room, a hanging black figure has been seen swinging from one of the wooden beams in front of the window. So if you want a hotel with some swingers, that's the room to go to. A member of staff tells of a personal happening, and that is when she was a kid, she'd sometimes go to work with a brother who worked at the hotel cleaning the rooms. She'd spend a couple of hours running up and down the hallways, by her own admission apparently, taunting the scary ghost lady and asking her to do something. Now, she admitted that she got bored, and whilst her brother was finishing off, she'd settled down in a chair and just sort of not drifting off, but wasn't doing much. And she used to sit in front of the window, just below where the swinging black shadow is seen. And as her brother walked in the door of the room, he flicked the light switch on, and the light bulb smashed above her head with glass sort of falling everywhere and scared the life out of her. And then she said she wouldn't go up to the floor of the hotel. Whether they've just got electrical problems, who knows? And the problem when you've got haunted buildings is that people start attributing every possible thing that can go wrong, and they say, oh, it must have been the ghost. But there is a bit of a horror story legend attached here, that if you say grey lady, grey lady, grey lady 3 times in a row in this room, she will appear. If that fails, you can always try saying Candyman or Beetlejuice and see what happens then. Or you could actually play back this recording of me saying it and see if it actually works, because we could just play a loop of grey lady, grey lady, grey lady continually, and then hopefully that might start something happening spookily in the room. Now, in the faux room, and I say faux, that's F-A-U-X, a heavy wardrobe was moved in front of the door from the inside. And this has happened a few times, and guests are unable to get back into the room, and when they get staff, they force the door, or they sometimes have put a ladder up the side of the hotel to break in through a window, and staff have managed to get inside, and when they found... what they found when they got in there was nobody in there, but there was a wardrobe blocking the door, so the poltergeists have moved it. Now, there are lots of occurrences of poltergeist activity in this hotel, and in the Danvers room, a particularly scary occurrence which I've been told about, which sounds particularly scary, is when the bedclothes are pulled from the bed in the middle of the night. Now, I've experienced a similar thing, and I certainly know a lot of witnesses that have done that in my favourite haunted building, which is St Breville's Castle in the Forest of Dean. Well worth checking out. And we had a lot of people that would leave in the middle of the night, and if you managed to catch them on their way out, they would say something was pulling the sheets off the bed all the way through the night. Now, There's also poltergeist activity where things have been picked up and thrown across the room. There's cold spots and items levitating and weird noises. And that's been heard by the staff as well as customers. Now, let's head to another hotel. That's been the King's Arms Hotel. Now, me and the band, we've gigged here. We had a fantastic night and a great gig. And it is a haunted hotel, and you can go in there. There's bits there. It's just like a pub, so you can head on in and ask about the spooks. But you have to try and catch them on a quiet day, and if they're in the mood, they'll tell you all the stories. But there are 2 ghosts that are supposedly haunting the King's Arms Hotel that I found out. And the first is a cavalier who had stopped there for a night's rest whilst delivering dispatches from Bristol to Oxford in the middle of the Civil War. Now, the Cavalier messenger, they actually hid this message apparently in the chimney. We don't know why, possibly to retrieve it later, but they never came back for it. And 2 versions of the story about the message being found actually exist, so we don't know which one's true. The first says it was found by builders in the 1920s when they were removing a portion of the wall to make an archway from the lounge bar to the dining room, and they found it up this chimney. Now, another story was published in 1935 in the Daily Mirror, so it's the Daily Mirror, it's probably not true. If it's published in a newspaper in Britain, it's normally not true. But this one involves Archibald Bouchier, and I'm saying Bouchier because it's spelled Bouchier, and they stayed the night at the inn in the bedroom above the porch. On the night that he stayed, he had some vivid nightmare in which he saw a cavalier being murdered. Now, this Archibald did some digging into the story and into cavaliers and murders at the property, and managed to find out the murdered cavalier was Sir Ronald de Bouchier, and he happened to be a distant relative of this Archibald person. He insisted on returning to the inn with a friend to make further inquiries, where they found the rolled-up dispatch tucked up the chimney. Now, that to me sounds like it's a made-up story. Actually, it was in the Daily Mail, so it probably is. The other ghost that's said to haunt the King's Arms is of a previous landlord, Harry Jones. Now, he took over ownership of the hotel from his father in 1880, and it's a famous landlord at the time, going on to become the Mayor of Malmesbury. Now, when we actually did a gig here, we ended up with the current mayor at the time joining us on stage and singing, and I think they played harmonica as well, so it was an interesting gig. Now, this mayor, and we're talking about the previous one, Harry Jones, was a rather dapper gent by all accounts, and smartly turned out with a fine gold hat sitting on top of this particularly large man, and just seems weird wearing a gold hat. So if you see a ghost with a gold hat, I think that's how they've managed to identify it. Now, in 1908, the North Wiltshire Herald, the newspaper, described Harry as rather a Dickensian character, upholding past traditions and old customs. So this was a bit of an eccentric character. Anyway, he died, and usually in the bar in room 9 is where he's experienced, which is heavy breathings heard in the room. That Harry was said to wander the upstairs corridors, and you can hear him wandering about and breathing, and occasionally see him as this large figure with a broad smile just sort of looks at you. Obviously, if it's got a gold hat, we know that's Harry. The previous licensees did believe they shared the building with Harry, so lots of them have reported stuff and regularly talked about occurrences, one of which was a couple of little vases of flowers placed on 2 of the smaller tables in the bar, sliding across it and dropping over the side. Now, the water all stayed inside it, and the flowers would stay in place as it landed on the floor, so it's not like it smashed and got knocked over. It sort of took off the table and placed itself on the floor. And the staff would get used to just picking them up and putting them back again. Lights and beer taps and so on come on and off when no one's near. Now, that's a regular occurrence in haunted pubs. Every haunted pub I ever go into tells me about how the beer taps turn themselves on and off. And there was apparently an incident where they caught on CCTV where shot glasses flew from a high shelf in one of the rooms. Unfortunately, I can't track down that, but I was told about it. And another pub you can go to is the Three Cups. So it's a great pub. I've gigged there as well. And I've chatted to the staff, and they have reported seeing figures and occasionally phantom customers that you notice, and when you turn around, they're not there anymore. I'll have some of these stories for a future episode, as I'm hopefully gigging there again next year, and we'll have some fresh tales for you. So that's one to look forward to, and I promise you we will return to Malmesbury and a lot of these haunted pub tales, as I've got a show coming up at Halloween where we talk about witches, and there is a huge amount of witch stories about Malmesbury. Now, the best place to actually find out this information is go there to the museum and get some tourist information there for you. And if you go to the museum's website, which is www.athelstanmuseum.org.uk, now I'm going to spell that. That's ATHELSTAN museum.org.uk. Now, if you go there, there's quite a lot of information about the witches as well, so you can do some homework before we get to that episode. So the museum is open 6 days a week. Monday it's closed. Tuesday to Friday it's open from 10:30 till 4:30. Saturday from 10:30 till 4, and Sunday 11:30 till 3:30. Obviously go on their website and check that there isn't some weird reason why they're closed, or there's some event going on, something like that. Now, as I said, I won't go into the story of these poor unfortunate people that were accused of witchcraft and then murdered by the witchfinders, as we're going to have a witchy episode when we get to Halloween. Now, I'm currently recording from a quiet room in the Barge Inn, where the fantastic Strange Days Festival is. It's been fantastic here, but we're going to have to come to a close very soon, and hopefully we will all get back here next year. So follow them on Facebook. You can get a ticket as soon as possible, and keep an eye on their website, strangedaysfestival.co.uk. So let's not get too sidetracked about where I am, and instead talk about where we want to be, which is Malmesbury, and check out a haunted freebie, and that's the Abbey. Now, if we check out their website for opening times, that's www.malmesburyabbey.com, and it says the normal opening times. The Abbey is open for visitors Monday to Saturday from 9:30 till 4, and on Sundays from 12:30 till 3:30. The Abbey Bookshop, we're open on Monday to Saturday 9:30 till 3:30, and the Abbey Cafe is open Monday to Saturday 9:30 till 3:30 p.m. Wow, there's a lot of talking in this section here now, because we've got to get to the Abbey, because they've got regular services and events, so please don't disrupt them by intruding with loud beeping electronic ghost hunting devices, because you can find one of the spooks outside. The figures of monks have been seen in the Abbey wandering around, but the one that's more often seen is the one in the graveyard outside the building. And the good thing about this one is that you can sit there when the place is closed and keep looking for it. These are not all the spooks of Malmesbury. There's a lot of haunted tales and many haunted buildings, but we can't spend the entire episode talking about one place, so I promise we will return in the new year after I've spoken to a few more witnesses. So, I'm going to return to the old prison. Not literally, I'm still here in a quiet room in the pub next to a festival, but when I get back, I'm doing a few ghost hunts, and we can join you can come along and join us on some ghost hunts here at the old prison on Halloween night itself. You can come spook spotting. On Friday, the 31st, yes, Halloween, from 7 p.m, there's a Halloween show on at the old prison, with tickets available from the Incarcerated Cabaret's web ticket page, which is www.stickyproductions.uk/tickets. There's a night of cabaret with songs from the Rocky Horror Show, Phantom of the Opera, and shows like that, as well as a live band. Oh, the amazing Frankenstein's Lobster, even if I do say so myself. Then a handful of intrepid spook spotters can stick around and join us on a ghost hunt until about 2 in the morning in the haunted cells, the cellars, the courtroom, all over the building, joining in with all the paranormal experiments. So what better way to spend Halloween? And and if anything spooky happens, we're going to broadcast it here on the show. So, time for another spooky song. I've spoken far too long. This time about one of the resident spooks at the prison that I've heard wandering around myself, and that is the young girl. So I have a lovely little folk song called The Prison Child, all about a young girl in a prison.
Within the dusty prison walls, where fear lingers and shadows crawl, a gentle sound, a faint echo of a child who walks here soft and slow.
Her eyes like lanterns in the night, a haunted, long forgotten fright. She wanders cells where darkness dwells, a spectral soul with tales untold.
The child behind the prison door, who lived in times and days before, a cruel and heartless fate of old, has left her here, afraid and cold, a ghostly child whose tale's untold.
Chains that held a child's despair have long since gone, but hold her there. The days and months like rivers flow, and what was her crime we'll never know.
So in the dark and frigid air, we search for souls no longer there, and underneath the moonlit sky, we hear her song from times gone by. The child behind the prison door, who lived in times and days before, a cruel and heartless fate of old, has left her here, afraid and cold, a ghostly child whose tale's untold. A song of sadness, children's tears, the wandering soul throughout the years. She walks the halls, she has no choice. We see her dance, we hear her voice. The child behind the prison door, who lived in times and days before, a cruel and heartless fate of old, has left her here, afraid and cold, a ghostly child whose tale's untold, a cruel and heartless fate of old, a ghostly child whose tale's untold.
Well, I think I'm probably running out of time by now. I'm not entirely sure. I'm still at the Strange Days Festival, and I will be heading back to the old prison, genuinely heading back to the old prison, getting ready for a weekend of cabaret shows and ghost hunting, and I'm exhausted, absolutely shattered. This has been a fantastic festival. We've had talks here about goblins, we've had poltergeists, we've had Brian Blessed just being weird. We've had podcast recordings by the Lawmen, excellent podcast if you get a chance to listen to it. But I'm going to head back to the prison properly now and set up for the ghost hunting, which, as I said, you can come and join us on a ghost hunt here on Halloween night, right through till 2 o'clock in the morning. Even later if something interesting happens. Don't worry, if there's a poltergeist actually throwing things around at the time, I'm not going to say, nope, sorry, it's gone 2 o'clock, off you go. But if you want to come to a ghost hunt here on Halloween night, that's after seeing a show and a bit of a party atmosphere going on in our bar and cabaret show, which is the Incarcerated Cabaret doing their Halloween show, which is the Rocky Horror Show, Phantom of the Opera, Little Shop of Horrors, shows like that, followed by the band Frankenstein's Lobster. Then we stick around and we do a ghost hunt, and we do all the paranormal experiments and so on, and all the way through till about 2 o'clock in the morning. It's going to be a long night. Anyway, that's going to be happening. You go to www.stickyproductions.com/ no, that's wrong. It's Sticky Productions website, and it's the ticket page. I've already told you earlier in the show, and I can't remember. I've got no way of getting on the internet now here in front of me. Oh, it's been a manic weekend, I tell you. Anyway, come to the show. Get a joint ticket where you can come to the ghost hunt as well. At the old prison at Northleach, on Halloween night. Well, that was a jumble. This whole show must have been a jumble because I've been recording it in between talks on strange spooky things at Strange Days Festival. Well, I can hear the band setting up to play the theme tune, and I generally can hear the band. They're outside the room because we did a gig here. So I can generally hear the band, and we're going to hear the theme tune coming in now for the Paranormal Tourist. Oh, this has been insane. Right, we'll see you next week here on Cotswold Radio On Air. And if you've got any tales to tell us, any places you want us to visit, then email us on paranormaltourists@hotmail.com, and we will do everything we possibly can to investigate your favourite haunted Cotswold places, whilst at the same time telling you of interesting places to go. Good night. Oh, I need some sleep.